My name is Brenna Sullivan. I am the Senior Coordinator of Grief Support Services at Samaritans Inc. I am a suicide loss survivor. I lost my dad when I was 5 to suicide, but I did not know that it was suicide until I was 17. So I don't remember being told he passed away. I just remember all of a sudden he was just gone. But I remember his funeral, and I remember seeing him in the casket and asking, like, what is he doing in there? Is he sleeping? And I remember going up to the casket with my aunt and asking her, like, can I touch him? Is that okay? And then the days after that and my life after that, it was just very much, he's not around anymore. And even though I was so little, I knew not to ask about it anymore because everyone around me would be sad. And so seeing other people sad, made me sad. So we would just kind of stop talking about him, and we just moved on. Kids are so resilient. I remember having days where I would be really sad, and I was told that he was in heaven and he's in the sky now. So I would talk to the clouds, but then in a moment just like that, I would be, happy again and just playing and just being a normal kid. But it was the waves. It's 100% roller coaster with kids of just the highs and the lows. And I think one way to support kids is just meeting them where they're at. And if they're having a day where they definitely seem sad, creating a space where it's okay to talk about it, and then just follow their lead. Because one moment they might be crying and sad about it, and then within the hour they're back up playing, and it's just, their emotions are able to just move right along. But that doesn't mean it's not still with them. But when my sister and I was 17 and she was 20, my mom told us the truth of what really happened with my dad, in that he had bipolar disorder and died by suicide. And it was shocking, but it honestly made a lot of sense because I always felt like I wasn't being told the truth. After he passed away, we didn't really talk to my dad's side anymore. There was a lot of tension. It always kind of felt a little bit like a mystery, because even though my mom would talk about him here and there, I would always want to change the subject as soon as possible. And so even though I was so little, I always had this gut feeling that something didn't make sense. So actually finding out was like a little bit of a relief, because I was like, oh, this makes sense. But then after that relief was then a million questions and a million other feelings, and having to re-grieve this person who I didn't even really get to know, but who is such an important person for me, but having to kind of grieve again. But I didn't get time off from school. There was no sympathy cards in the mail because no one knew, but it was the only thing I could think of for months. It took me a while to tell my friends what happened, because the stigma of people who die by suicide are selfish, or it's a forever decision over a temporary problem, and all those, those sayings that go along with a suicide loss. So I was embarrassed and had shame that my dad did that, because at first I kind of thought those things too. And it wasn't until I learned more about his sickness that I was able to be like, oh, he was sick. His brain was not healthy, and it was not operating at a normal way, because people who die by suicide are suffering. There's something much bigger going on. So once I was able to really understand those things and those facts about bipolar and suicide loss, the shame lifted. I did feel this feeling of mistrust with my family for a while. Since after my mom told us, I came home and my Nana was there and she knew, and I called my uncle and he knew, which obviously they all did because they were all there. But it just was this overwhelming feeling of, whoa, everyone knew this huge thing about my life and I didn't. I actually went to a safe place, a Samaritans SafePlace in Worcester. I will never forget, it was senior year of high school, and I drove to Worcester and I drove past Crowley Stadium where I think it was the girls soccer team made it to state finals, and all my friends were going to the stadium and I kept going straight to SafePlace. What I found most helpful in the groups was finding community and connection, and that the way people died did not matter. It's how they lived in their legacy, and that their lives mattered, and that even though we all miss our people, they have given us this gift of, being kinder to people, checking in on friends more than maybe you normally would. Finding the groups really just made me feel not alone in these sad thoughts, because that's something that suicide loss brings that natural causes loss don't bring, is the questions. What did I do wrong? Was it something I said? And me being so little, I didn't really necessarily have those blame feelings, but I had those feelings of, why wasn't I enough? I'm the youngest out of his 4 kids, and so I only got 5 years with him, and I had a lot of that anger of, didn't you want to see me grow up? Like, didn't you want to walk me down the aisle, see me at prom, graduation? And with suicide, there is 1,000 questions and wanting to blame anyone else besides the person, because it's just such a hard thing to wrap your head around. So blame, caused a lot of estrangements in my family. And as I got older and had more control over my life being an adult, I was able to reestablish those relationships. Are these wounds ever fully healed? No, but we've been able to, focus on the love and not so much on the loss anymore, and that we are able to be a family again. My oldest sister, Carrie, she's 15 years older than me, so she got to experience what it was like to have our dad as a teenager. And like one of my favorite stories she's ever told me is that when she had her first real breakup, her college boyfriend, he sent her a subscription to 17 magazine because he just didn't know how else to, help. And I just think that is so cute. And so that's something that me and my siblings now, when we're together, we still talk about him and share stories, and that has been really, really healing. And now too, he has grandchildren. He has 4 nieces and a nephew, and so being able to still talk about him and pass that down to his grandchildren is really healing as well. We go up to York, Maine every summer, multiple times throughout the year, and York, Maine was his favorite spot. That's where I feel most connected to him. I don't really feel a connection when I go to his grave. I very rarely go to his grave. So the beach in York, Maine is just where I feel him. And we actually have the same birthday. So on my birthday, I just think of him. And like I said, I don't really have any memories of us celebrating our birthdays together, but I just think of him and think how old he would be and what we might have done together. Usually if someone says something, I say, I'm very just matter of fact with it and say, yeah, he had bipolar disorder and died from a mental health disease and by suicide. And able to have that language of being able to talk about it like any other illness makes me not as scared or nervous because of the stigma that goes along with it. And so I just, politely say like, yeah, he died by bipolar. And sometimes people will understand it just by that what that implies. But sometimes being able to be open about saying it was suicide, it sparks that conversation of, oh, I lost someone to suicide too. And it becomes creating this little safe environment to talk about your person. I honestly don't know what it's like not to be missing someone. And my mom put my sister and I in grief counseling right away. And that really did help, being able to have a space to just talk. So our stories are just so intertwined, because I almost feel like in a way he is my story. Losing him and navigating grief and navigating life without my dad has been almost my whole life. So without his story, there is no my story. Grief has become, I would say, almost part of my identity. It's what I do for work now. I help fellow loss survivors. It has given me, the chance to help others through the hardest days of their lives. And grief isn't something that ever goes away. I've had people tell me, you're not over it? Or I've had people tell me that I'm lucky that I lost my dad when I was little, because then I didn't actually get to know him, which means I don't actually have to miss him. And that's not the case. I do feel like at this point I have peace with it. I feel like I've able to really understand why he made the decision he did. And I'm at more of the point in my life where I just want to hear more stories about him and how he was as a dad, or even before that, what was he like as a teenager? What was he like in college? So those are the things now that I want to focus on, is how did he live? What was he like? What was his favorite songs? So that's where I am in my life now, is that's what I like to hear. When it was his 25th anniversary of his passing, I actually wrote to people to send me stories of him. So I was able to collect them for my future kids. So I had more stories about their grandfather, because they will ask about him. I have pictures of him in my house. He's not a secret. He is someone who is part of their story too. Having my son brought a little bit of him back, and I'm excited to see little specks of him and see what personality traits that are his, and that my aunts will comment and say, oh, that's Bruce right there. That's a Bruce moment. So I'm excited to see that part of him and not focusing on the sad parts. I want to create a place for my son that he feels safe to ask for help if he feels like he needs it. He is able to talk about his feelings, that he is never alone if he has a problem. And it's also something that I think about, of anxiety of if bipolar will be, genetic, passed down, and being able to, as he grows up, look out for signs and use resources, and that try not to navigate it alone. What I want my son to know about my dad was that he was really fun and kind, and he was everyone's person. And I think if you were described as you were someone's go-to, and so many people have told me that he was their first person to call when they needed to tell about their bad days, their good days, a good joke, needed help, they were his person. And I think that's pretty magical, to be that person to so many different people. And I can only hope that Mac is that to other people.